What happens when new meets up with old, when times change and some people don't? In Hoboken, New Jersey, some old-time residents have been infuriated by the New York yuppies who have invaded their territory. Both sides have been speaking their piece in the editorial pages of the Hoboken Reporter, a weekly paper. And that real-life drama is played out in the book Yuppies Invade My House at Dinner Time. John Derevlany co-edited the book with Joseph Berry, who publishes the paper, and he's with us this noon. This is a book that tells a story about what's happening in Hoboken, but really it's a story about gentrification and what happens in many cities. Miami's probably a good example. You're staying in the Art Deco district, you told me, and we see a lot of new coming in, and what happens to the old there? Do they clash? You can tell us. You've seen it happen in Hoboken.
Well, this is going on all over the country, this gentrification and the brutal transformation of older neighborhoods as new money and new people come in. And of course there's a clash because the people who've been living there and who have been preserving the city through its darker periods are being forced out, they're being displaced. And it's really the story of the 80s, the people losing their homes and not being able to afford rents.
Is there any way these people can truly harmonize?
I don't think so, because you're talking about two different groups, and there's such a class difference between the two groups. The young professionals have so much more money and are able to throw that weight around, whereas the old-timers don't have that.
Well, really, the book is an example of a shooting match that's going on in the editorial pages of this weekly paper. There are funny moments, there are sad moments. What is one of the funniest confrontations that you find between people on both sides in Hoboken?
I think it's sort of their perceptions and their misconceptions of each other. For instance, you'll have an old-timer just writing and ranting on about these yuppies, how rude and vile and loud and tasteless they are, how they don't put curtains on their windows, how they sleep on the floors, these weird people with sneakers and dresses. And
we see a lot of that. I know somebody here at the station, she dresses in suits and she'll wear sneakers until she goes on the air. It's more comfortable. She's a yuppie.
Well, that seemed to really rile the old-time residents, and other things like the yuppies weren't raising families. All they were doing was working and just pursuing a big paycheck and a nicer condo. Well,
you're also talking about traditions as well. A lot of the old-timers have their traditions and the yuppies don't always like it. You have one example of a festival.
Right, there's this big feast each year, and what it is, it's sort of a combination of Midnight Mass and the 4th of July. They march this statue of the Blessed Mother through the streets, and they set off these ear-shattering fireworks. And for, I think, the yuppies who thought they were moving into a nice, calm, peaceful neighborhood, they suddenly had Armageddon, Armageddon erupting on their stoops. So they started writing letters saying things like, "I pray in the quiet of my home. I don't throw Molotov cocktails to the gods to hear me." And that just...
And these people say, "You don't believe in God, then?"
Yeah, they went on and on about that. And that was really one issue that everyone seemed to get very excited about for some reason or other, because a lot of the issues in the book are argued about disparate topics. For instance, someone will say there's garbage on the streets, and that obviously the yuppies are to blame.
If you want to find out what might happen to Miami 5-10 years down the road, then why don't you get a copy of Yuppies Invade My House at Dinner Time? And thanks for being with us.
Oh, thank you.